friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm coming at you with kind of a recommendation video. So this video I'm going to be talking about books that I think you should read during Hispanic Heritage Month. So this video will be going up a couple days early from Hispanic Heritage Month. So Hispanic Heritage Month is from September 15th all the way to October 15th. So I did a video similar to this one last year. I'll be repeating a couple of the books that I talked about last time, because last time I hadn't read them, this time I have. So it's just a bit of a different perspective. But yeah, I'll try to link it in the cards or in the description box below if you want more recommendations for Hispanic books or books written by Latinx authors. So I'm sure some of you guys do know this, but I am Hispanic, I'm Puerto Rican, and I lived in Puerto Rico for 14 years. So I am Latinx, so I'm super excited to be sharing some of these recommendations with you all. I do have to admit that I haven't been the best at reading books by Latinx authors, and I feel like the year that I've read the most books by Latinx authors was last year and this year, and it's just not enough time, so I haven't read as much as I wish I have. So I have a lot of books on my TBR that are by Latinx authors, so I'll be doing two sections where I'll be talking about books that I've read by Latinx authors that I recommend, and books that I haven't read that I want to read that do sound interesting to me. So the first couple of books are all by the same author, and she's my favorite author of like all time, and I'm sure that you've heard about her before, and that is Elizabeth Acevedo. So I have 3 of her books here. So I've read all of her books, I believe. There is one poetry collection that she just came out with. It's like a collection with other people, so she's not the only author on it. But that's the only thing that I haven't read by her yet. But these are some of her books, so I'll go through them. The first one I ever read was The Poet X by her, and this one is written in verse, and it's pretty much about this girl. She is obviously Latinx. In the Latinx community, I don't remember if she's Christian or Catholic, but religion is a very big part of her life, and she's kind of falling in love for the first time, and kind of those restrictions when it comes to like religion and having very strict parents. Latinx parents are very strict, and she's also discovering her love for poetry and kind of writing her thoughts and her feelings and her experience. And her mom or her parents, I don't remember very well if it's just her and her mom, but kind of her parents discovering her writing and not really understanding her. So it was very beautiful. It's a very quick read because it is written in verse, and I do recommend listening to some of these audiobooks because Elizabeth Acevedo herself, she reads the audiobooks, so it's a very fun experience. The next one is Clap When You Land. Clap When You Land, obviously, by Elizabeth Acevedo, and it's about these 2 half-sisters, and they kind of find out about each other after the death of their father. So they share a father, different mothers, and after their father dies, that's when they discovered that the other existed, and one of them lives in the United States and the other one lives in Dominican Republic. So they have very, very different experiences, and I think it's for Latinx people, it's a book that a lot of different Hispanic people can relate to, because I personally obviously relate to the experience of growing up in Puerto Rico and kind of my homeland, but there's a lot of obviously Hispanic people that migrated to the United States, like their parents did, and they grew up in the United States, but they are Hispanic, and kind of that experience. So I feel like a lot of Hispanic people will be able to relate to this book. It's also written in verse, so obviously a very quick read and very beautiful. And Elizabeth Acevedo as well, she reads the audiobook for this, and it's kind of a performance, so it's a whole experience, and it's really good. And then the last one, which is my favorite by Elizabeth Acevedo, is With the Fire on High. This is one of her books that I've been able to relate to the most. I loved it. I think this was the first one that I ever read by Elizabeth, and this one's the only one that is not written in verse. It's kind of a novel, and it's about this very young girl. She's in high school, and she's actually a teen teen mom, and she's kind of discovering that she loves cooking and she wants to be a chef. But obviously there's a lot of struggles there with her being a teen mom and still being in school, and all of those struggles, and like trying to pay the bills and having a full-time job while she's in school, and also trying to follow her passion, which is cooking. So yeah, I love this book so much. This is my favorite by Elizabeth Acevedo. So obviously these were all 5 stars. I definitely recommend all of these for you to read this month. The next book that I want to recommend, I actually read this year and I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars as well, and it's In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This one is a poetry collection. Yeah, it's not like written in verse, it's a poetry collection. And it's a memoir also by Carmen Maria Machado. It's about her life. Not her life entirely, but this really toxic relationship that she was in. Lesbian relationship, also polyamorous relationship that she was in. So it's queer, it's Latinx. It has a lot. It's so good. It has so much research. Like you can see that there was so much research made before she's even started writing this book, and it's so beautiful. I don't even know how to like put into words what this book's about, but it's so beautiful. I definitely recommend it. I'm kind of jumping around, but a book that I haven't read that I want to read, which is also by Carmen Maria Machado, it's Her Body and Other Parties. This was gifted to me by my good friend here on BookTube, Isabel, from Ray or Shine. Don't know much about what this book is, but I have heard that it's kind of like scary stories, and they all have like an underlying message or like a deeper meaning than just like a scary story. So I'm excited to read this as well sometime soon. And then I think this is the last, it's not the last poetry collection, but another poetry collection that I loved was Peluda by Melissa Lozada Oliva. It's super short, so a very quick read for the month of Hispanic Heritage Month. But yeah, this one is a lot about feminism and body hair, hence peluda, which just means hairy in Spanish, and kind of the relationship of women, Latinx women, and hair and feminism. Yeah, basically on the back here it kind of says opening bodies to eliminate the trauma of living as a brown woman in America. So I adored this book.
Super short, so give it a go.
The next one, I honestly cannot remember when I read it. It was either late last year or early this year, and that is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This is a YA novel, but to me it read a bit more like middle grade. I did really love it though. So basically it's about this Latinx young boy. He is transgender, and he wants to be a brujo. That's kind of like what his family does, but because he is transgender, his family doesn't believe that he deserves to be a brujo. So that's him kind of navigating all of that, and then there's also some spirits that are awakened, and he meets one of these spirits and they kind of become friends, and it was so good. It's a really good like adventure, very fast-paced type of book, so that's one of them that I loved. So okay, the last book that I have here does come with a bit of an explanation. So that is Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. So this whole time I thought that the author Kaysen Callender was Latinx, but he is Santhomian, which is like St. Thomas, but a lot of people in St. Thomas do identify as Latinx, so I'm going to be counting this. I know that some people may not count this as a Latinx book. I do, because if you're from St. Thomas and you identify as Latinx, then yes, you can count this, of course. But yeah, Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender, one of my favorite books of all time, one of my favorite top 10 books from last year. So this book follows our main character Felix. He's a black queer transgender boy, and he has never been in love. So he actually, let me read it before I forget. So he's a student, and someone begins to send him transphobic messages, and also publishes his dead name in public in front of all of his other classmates. So he's trying to figure out who did this, and through that he catfishes the person that did this, and kind of ends up falling in love with him through catfishing him. So Yes, like, hello. This is so good. I love this book so much. If you loved Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, I definitely recommend this book. Next up, we're gonna go into some of the books that I have not read that I want to read sometime soon. I'll show you some of the books that I'll also be reading for this month myself. So the first book that I'll be reading myself this month actually is The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. Obviously, Zoraida Cordova is a Latinx author, and this book is about, it's witchy. So basically, this family kind of inherits these powers. Yeah, it's kind of about like their family line and the Orquidea's family line, and kind of inheriting these powers. I'm not too sure like exactly what'll be like the plot, but on here it says she is determined to save what's left of their family and uncover the truth behind their inheritance. Her descendants travel to Ecuador, to the place where Orquidea buried her secrets and broken promises and never looked back. Super excited to read this. Also, shameless plug, this is the September book club pick for my book club with my best friend here on BookTube, Camila from Borrows and Books. We started a book club called Brujas and Books, and we'll be reading a book by a Latinx author each month. So this is our first book club pick, and I'll be talking about some of the other picks for the later months for the book club next. So the October pick for Brujas and Books is Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've never read anything by Silvia Moreno Garcia, but I know she has a ton of books, which are, some of them are right here next to me, and I'll be talking about in a few minutes. But this one, like I said, our October pick for our book club, and this one is set in the 1970s in Mexico, and I know it's a noir genre book, but I don't know. I literally haven't even read like the inside of this because I don't really want to know much going into this, knowing that it's a noir. Like, kind of know how it'll end badly, because that's usually how like noir genre films end. But yeah, 1970s Mexico City, spooky noir, that's all you need to know. Hopefully you'll join us in October to read this with us. And up next is the November book club pick for Brujas and Books, and that is The Most Beautiful Girl in Cuba by Chanel Cleland. I'm so excited to read this book. I really wanted to read a historical fiction book in November, and this was also, it wasn't Reese Witherspoon's book club pick, but I know another book by this author was, which was Next Year in Havana. But this book basically, it'll be set in Cuba, and I believe it's about this man who is a journalist, and he's sent to Cuba for... Cuba.
I don't know why I'm saying that. So weird.
He is sent to Cuba. Cuba! Oh my god, what the hell? This journalist, I think his name's William, he is sent to Cuba for an emerging story happening there, and I believe there he meets this 18-year-old girl who lives in Havana, Evangelina, and I guess it'll have to deal with the Spanish oppression, which I am so excited because I feel like I'm going to learn so much about like Cuba and this time period, which is the 1800s, like late 1800s, because I don't know much about all of that, like the Spanish oppression and all of that in Cuba, because I'm Puerto Rican, so I know a lot about Puerto Rico, but Cuba specifically, I don't know much. So yeah, I'm super excited to read this in the month of November. So I have a couple more books, and all of these are books that I haven't read. So I don't know much about the plot or anything, even though I wasn't even able to explain books that I have read. But yeah, so another couple books. So they're all by the same author that I've already mentioned in this video, and that is Silvia Moreno Garcia. She has Mexican Gothic, which I'll also be reading this month because I've never read this book before. She also has Gods of Jade and Shadow, and this looks so cool. I just read the Song of Achilles, and that was like Greek mythology. I believe this is Greek mythology, but I could be wrong.
What am I talking about? This is Mayan Mexican folklore. Why would I think it's Greek mythology?
Am I stupid? I don't know. It gave me the Song of Achilles vibes from the cover, I guess. But I'm really excited to read this because I don't know. I guess I just read the Song of Achilles and I loved it, and I thought this would be similar, but obviously not, because it's not. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Never mind. Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And then also Tor Nightfire, which is an imprint of Macmillan, just sent me A Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. So thank you so much, Tor Nightfire, for sending this my way. And I'm super excited to read this. I know this one's spookier than this. And I know Mexican Gothic, obviously, it's spooky, but yeah. I don't know, read Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And then I have these two books that were also sent to me. Oh my god, I need to remember who sent these to me. I don't remember. Okay, so this one was sent to me by Penguin Teen, and this is When We Make It by Elizabeth Velasquez. And this one is written in verse, so it's reminding me a lot of like Elizabeth Acevedo style. And this one is about a Puerto Rican girl, and she's a first generation Puerto Rican. So basically this book will kind of focus on family trauma, masculinity in its most toxic form, systemic pressures of life, and a rapidly gentrifying Brooklyn. So that's exciting. I feel like this is going to be a very, very beautiful book because it's written in verse, so I know it'll have some beautiful writing in there. Yeah, it's about this young girl who is a New Yorican, which is kind of what we call Puerto Ricans that migrate to New York. But yeah, it is poetry, and I'm super excited to read this. And then the last book, this one was sent to me by Flatiron Books, and that is Wild Tongues Can't Be Tamed. And this is the other poetry collection that I was talking about where Elizabeth Acevedo is on. So this one is a whole bunch of, like, I believe they're like short stories. I thought this was a poetry collection. No, I'm not sure. But I think this might be a short story collection. And it has 15 different Latinx authors. So I'm assuming that this will, like, it will be a range of themes. But some of the things that it says on the back, it says, writers from across the Latinx diaspora interrogate the different myths and stereotypes about this rich and diverse community. Wow, that's super cool. From immigration to sexuality, music to language, and more. 3 personal essays and poems are essential additions to the cultural conversation, sure to inspire hope and spark dialogue. That's so cool. I'm super excited to read this. Some of the authors on here, it says Elizabeth Acevedo, Cristina Areola, Ingrid Rojas Contreras, Natasha Diaz, Janelle Martinez, and many, many more. Alright, so those are some of the books. Obviously not all of the books, but those are some of the books that I've read by Latinx authors that I wish that you do read during Hispanic Heritage Month. And some of the books that I want to read during this month and celebrate Latinx authors. Obviously, I will not stop reading Latinx authors after October 15th. I will continue. And if you want to read more books by Latinx authors all year round, please go follow Brujas and Books. Like I said, we'll be picking a book by a Latinx author each month. I gave you the first 3 picks, and we're already planning all of the books for the rest of the year and early next year, so go follow and join us. But yeah, that is it. I forgot, and I totally wanted to mention this, that I am wearing this shirt, and this shirt is designed by a Latinx, I believe she's Colombian artist, and her name's Natalie Bermudez, and you can find this on Shein if you want to support Latinx artists this month as well. This is in Shein. I will link it below. But yeah. Alright, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you take some recommendations from this video and add them to your TBR for September/October. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time in another video. Bye!